Warning! The following gameplay video was created by a scrub. If scrub gameplay disturbs you, stop the video now. Hello! Well, this one is going to be post-commentary because, as you no doubt noticed from the last video, I'm approaching a boss. Or at least, that was the plan. Because I noticed on the way towards it a staircase that I had not explored yet, and you know my opinion on exploring before going for bosses, or indeed any fog gate whatsoever. And I don't even remember why I checked to see if I could reclose the door. I don't know why I would ever even want to do that, but anyway. At first, this place was unfamiliar to me because I never even discovered that ladder my first time through. I was not curious or hungry for the blood of boxes enough to knock them over and discover things. If I had, I would have noticed that the door was locked and that it was in fact a shortcut door. Also, I'm skipping the journey to and from that bonfire shortcut because I got lost in both directions. It's not as exciting as it sounds. So, my strategy here. I didn't figure that I would ever really get the opportunity to summon phantoms again. And the reason is, of course, that I walk around in human form very infrequently, and I retain that form for very short amounts of time, usually. So my plan here was to summon these two people to help me fight the boss. And instead of actually fighting, I do more observing. Because, well, it just seems like a good idea to spend some time learning how the boss works. Also, I kind of noticed that I hadn't tried dual wielding in this game, and Lautrec seems to like doing that. So maybe I'll experiment with that a little bit off camera to see if it works. So, what I thought at first seeing this was that it was a giant mutated crocodile of some sort. I also didn't notice that it had crawled up from a pit. Well. So this is what the game calls a dragon. That is very unlike the dragons shown in the intro video, but hey, maybe there's actually quite a few that were simply not shown on screen. Also, take that frame rate. Well, this dragon seems to be mostly mouth, which is in turn mostly teeth. Okay, it's good to know that's a thing that it does. So it seems to rear up and then land on whatever's in front of it. Not that I'll ever try to be in front of it. It seems like a bad idea. Also, it seems that firebombs work more or less okay. Though I should probably use them sparingly. This seems very strange to me. And it wasn't until I looked at the video footage afterwards that it actually grabbed one of my phantoms and was... And the reason I didn't deal any damage was... Well, even though it's not a Capcom game, or indeed a brawler at all, it has grab invulnerability. I can't complain. I mean, I have backstab invulnerability and such. Also, I was not paying very close attention to that tail attack. I was, I don't know, a little bit nervous and thought it was just another arm swipe or something. Well, another thing I noticed is that this boss seems to have a large amount of health, and that the phantoms I summoned are, first of all, not doing very much damage, and second, they do not seem to dodge at all. I mean, maybe they have more health than normal characters to compensate, but that's clearly not enough. Now, it was at this point that I wished I had bought some charcoal resin, because I'd be much more free to experiment with whether that's viable. I hadn't quite put two and two together that the game gives you 3 lightning resins right before encountering the boss, and that the resin's description specifically says that it's strong against dragons. Oh well. Instead, I figured that I would... Well, I used it here because having 2 phantoms with me made a possible victory more likely. But afterwards, I'd be fighting it alone for the first time, and I didn't like my chances on that. And I didn't watch where I was going. Yep. The backwards roll. Use it with care. Also, at the time I cut off its tail, I thought cutting off its tail was a bad thing because that meant less of a hurt box on the enemy. I hadn't even thought about that tail whip attack. I also hadn't considered using my pyromancy on it, even though the firebombs seemed to deal decent damage. That occurred to me on my way to the second fight. Or the rematch. I'll call it that. Ahem. So. There were a couple of things that I noticed pretty fast, though. One was that it attacked in front of it, and that was pretty much it. Well, it charged forward, it jumped up and did a slam attack, but there's plenty of enough time to roll away if that happens, so... It was... In fact, I'd say it's an easier fight than most of the Monster Hunter bosses. Bosses, right, just Monster Hunter monsters I've encountered, because most of the monsters I've fought have some sort of move that can affect you or easily turn the monster around if you're attacking the back legs. Not that it's necessarily a bad idea, but it's not something that you can abuse forever. Whereas the Gaping Dragon seemed to have a lot of trouble with that. So that was the main strategy that I had put together for this. So hit the tail and the back legs, even though hitting the back legs won't knock down the monster, it doesn't especially matter. And, well, here we go. Oh. Well, That would have been a very good time for me to hit its head, but instead I was concerned about just getting behind the monster. And yeah, considering the number of souls I was carrying with me, it might have been a good idea. Also, first of all, those vitality levels were well spent. And second of all, I'm not sure, even to this point, how to avoid that attack. And did I drink 3 Estus charges there? Ooh. Once again, the button should not be mashed. I only wanted 2 charges. I think that was the only time early in the fight that I saw the dragon fly up and then sort of change direction in midair and lunge for me. The amount of damage I was dealing seemed okay, but the effect on the life bar reminded me of my first encounter with the Asylum Demon. So, at that point, I considered, yeah, actually, the damage from combustion was not too bad. Might as well use all the charges while I'm here. I wonder if that's an instant kill. Also, it doesn't seem to like having its head set on fire. That's a very bizarre fighting stance. I have to commend the designers of this boss. Also, I lied. It actually did that midair forward lunge thing, and I just didn't notice at the time. Whoa, easy there. It's a good thing this boss says... Oh, and that's where I discovered the tail swipe, and oh boy. I probably should have used 2 charges there, but anyway. Oh, there we go. Well... Honestly, I was kind of concerned... saw the tail swipe coming that time. I was kind of concerned that buying points in Vitality would not be useful because I would get one shot anyways due to my weak armor. But yeah, I would be shocked if I had more than 2 hit points there. So I'm not going to go as far as to say that the boss is easy. I mean, it's... Once you understand its pattern, it's not that hard to avoid, but it does punish mistakes really hard. Which I think that's my favorite kind of boss in, most kinds of video games. Now, my original plan was to put on the gold pine resin as something to make finishing the boss off easier and a little safer. But for that purpose, actually fire bombs would do just fine. So there we go. They're a lot easier to restock than the resin as well, so there you go. So I joked about how completing this boss on 2 attempts puts it on the same tier of difficulty as the Taurus Demon when I was talking with my brother about this earlier. But of course that's not actually the case. The fight is a fair deal longer. There's more of a chance to get killed instantly, especially if you weren't as much of a coward as I did and put some points into offense instead of vitality. But compared to stuff like the Capra Demon and even the Gargoyles, I can't say that I find the boss especially scary. All the same, I didn't trust myself to not get lost on the way back, because I am carrying a fair amount of soul power right now. And that always makes me nervous. So let's use some of that. Well, vitality worked pretty well, so let's get some more of that. I did consider the other stats, but it's best to stick with the plan, I think. So that's 25. And then 26, I think. It kind of... I don't know why they went through all the work of giving these up and down values to points put in vitality. It would have been a lot easier to just have it sort of scale smoothly in whatever direction they wanted it to go. They must have... I can only imagine they wanted to give it a sort of weird feeling on purpose, like you can't quite be sure whether you're spending the points wisely. That's my best guess, anyway. So, let's check that Blighttown key. Well, the game warns us that wherever we're going, it's full of poison. So now that we have something to spend, I would have been in pretty bad shape if I had forgotten about her, because I'm quite sure I'm going to need this stuff. Now, considering how upfront the game is being about the kinds of dangers I'm going to face, And considering that the game usually likes to let you learn these things through a surprise, I figure that it would be extremely not smart to take these threats seriously. So here we go. In fact, considering the amount of souls I have, 5 of each is probably being stingy. In fact, it's almost certainly being stingy. Also, I did find a little bit of a large titanite.
Why, that's a fine ember you have there. I could smith some mighty weapons with one of those. Why not lend it to me?
Now, by lend, I assume he means give it to him forever. But I can't use it.
Magnificent. You won't be disappointed. I can hardly wait to get started.
Also, I really hope that there isn't some other blacksmith around who could do much better things with that ember, but, I mean, what else am I gonna do? I mean, with the knowledge that I have right now. So, I probably could have upgraded this heater shield more, but I wasn't even thinking about that so much. Mostly I was thinking about why I couldn't find my 2 main weapons on this list. Because this interface was pretty confusing to me. I thought that upgrading from +5 to +6 is just a simple upgrade sort of thing, but that's because I wasn't really paying attention to what the guy was telling me earlier. So, moving from small titanite to large titanite means ascending it, as far as I can tell. And that's something that you can only do at a blacksmith. Which means, even though it's probably better for my damage to just pick one of the 2 weapons and stick with it,
Although I've heard rumors of a divine blacksmith who resides there. Those who get stumped in the
yeah, I don't need to go to the catacombs, but if I do, I might want to go to Darkroot first. Anyway, I figured it's probably better to ascend both of them, because that way, if I find more large titanite later, I can, well, first of all, I can buy the blacksmith box, and here's just checking to make sure that it worked the way I thought it did. And yeah, it's back to the normal reinforcement menu now. Anyway, so if I go somewhere that doesn't have easy shortcuts to this blacksmith, I can buy the smith box and use whatever bonfire I can find to make use of whatever large titanite I can find. I assume that's how things are going to go from now on. I mean, when I found this blacksmith, I could just buy everything I needed to upgrade straight to +5, but I don't get the impression that the rest is going to be that easy. So I think that's about it for my preparations for Blighttown. I mean, there are other ways that I can go, but Blighttown seems to be the next natural progression, and from the experiences I've already shown, it seems better to wait until I can get at least something to +10 before I try the other routes. Because the skeletons, I definitely don't kill them fast enough. And that big monster with the pole arm took hardly any damage from my +5, so probably need something better there. And might as well round my vitality. Well, actually it's not rounding it out to 20. I already did that, but vitality has served me pretty well. I might move my points to other places in the future, but for now, I think this is good. See you later.